Merry Meet, Annie here. Every now and then, I'm going to post something in a new series I'm going to call One Witch's Life. It will be about one witch's way of living her spiritual life through the moments of her life. I plan on sharing things from every day, things about ritual and practice, and all the things that weave in and out of my life. The thought to call the series this is that often I am asked how I blend my spiritual beliefs as a Wiccan into the fabric of my life. The answer is that those beliefs cannot be separated from the pattern of that fabric. Any thread removed destroys the fabric, which I call me. This series intends to share some of those threads, the things that weave through who I am. This entry into the series is entitled Living What We Are, and it came to me two ways. Through questions asked by some of my viewers as to how I am Wiccan in the wider world, how I express who I am and what I believe in. And through a very mundane activity I took on this week of cleaning out some old computer files from my former career. This small journey to the past, to my corporate past, begins with a course on the 7 principles of highly effective people. Indeed it does. What purported to be yet another corporate initiative, and over almost 30 years of one initiative after another. Attendance was required, so off I trooped, determined to make the time spent there matter in some way. I'm going to admit now, right up front, that it actually was one of the best corporate initiatives I've ever experienced. It was so good indeed that it faded from any chance of impacting the Mongo company I worked for. But it impacted me, and I don't mind admitting it. I recommend the book. We had been told to come to the event with a favorite quotation from the information we've been given in advance. I kept that quote in my working journal, which is a document I keep online, and I came across it. When we are motivated by goals that have deep meaning, by dreams that need completion, by pure love that needs expressing, then we truly live life. Now, I have no idea who Gary Anderson is, but I thank him for his words. In many ways, the experience was a typical executive seminar experience with an overactive coaching team trying to get 3-piece suitors, with all due respect, as I was one of them, inspired and motivated. Early on, though, I admit, my biggest challenge was trying not to doze off. And then we came to the second habit of the 7 habits. And it was, with the premise being, all things are created twice, first in the mind, then in reality. Well now, that perked up this witch's ears, for we work magic, don't we? We know that statement as reality. So I continue to be all ears. We were presented with this premise, which is right out of Stephen Covey's book. And it is, within my small circle of influence, I'm going to decide. There was talk around that. And a follow-up to that, another part of the same second habit was, I have created the future in my mind. I can see it, and I can imagine what it will be like. I was so there because they had just described magic. Let's move back to the quote. From the quote, we were then told to start with it to create a personal mission statement. Oh gosh, I don't have to tell you how I shivered at the reference to mission statements. Oh, not again. I just about statemented myself to death over my career. Well then, Being me, I thought, if I'm going to spend 2 days locked up in this hotel, I'm going to come away with something that matters to me. Most folks immediately got busy scratching down all kinds of business missions and anthems to corporate speak. There were lots of lofty goals and charts posted from most people. And then there was my contribution from the witch in the crowd. Over my 30 years of working for corporate America, it was often quite fun being the witch in the workplace. I ran into someone not too long ago who remembered me specifically from that seminar. And they told me something I did not know at the time, that several of the attendees rewrote their I wills over lunch, inspired by what I had shared. Way cool. I wish I could have seen it. I never saw anything that they came up with. I would love to have seen it. So as I was deleting all these old files, this one did not get deleted. It was something worth hanging on to, and I was pleased to revisit it. Living true to ourselves. Next, I came to an exercise I took on a little over a decade ago when I first took on some studies at the UU church I was about to join. Now, when I first visited that church, they had not had a pagan member. Since then, it's a different story, but in those days, a decade ago, they weren't sure who I was. Some of the older members were not sure whether they were comfortable accepting me and spending time with me, and I even overheard a conversation once where one asked another, "Why would a pagan be in church? They don't believe in God, do they?" So I had this opportunity to take a class that was run. It was a delightful evening spent with folks I had not come to know well yet, and we followed a process to create a list that began with, "This I believe." Here are my notes from that exercise. Yes, mirth and reverence. And the opportunity that I took that evening to share more of who I was and what I believed in paved a way to becoming a warm, comfortable part of that fellowship and having them learn from me some of the beauty of our pagan spirituality. Now back to the corporate world. Amongst the many files that I deleted, I found one we used in a team-building exercise where we were asked to bring a favorite quotation. Lots of standard, trite, overworn quotations showed up. I remember some as we still see them popping up all over the place. I'm sorry, I can't hear you over the sound of "How awesome I am." And then along comes me. A credit to the team I worked with. At this point, they were assuming I wouldn't be, oh, and here comes another cliche, drinking the Kool-Aid. That said, I wasn't. This is the quote I brought. "There's a bit of magic in everything, and then some loss to even it out." In case you didn't know. So, a video inspired by the cleaning out of old files, remembering often thinking I didn't fit into that corporate world, and now understanding that very often I made that world fit me, and thinking that we all bring who we genuinely are to the wider world if we choose to. I wish you mirth and reverence. Merry part.